All done. All silent. Going. Gone. Sold. Congratulations.
Welcome to the Current Market Insights podcast, brought to you by Harris Partners Real Estate. Each episode, we chat with real estate author and industry leader Peter O'Malley to discuss the current property market conditions and provide insights to assist you on your property journey.
G'day, Peter, and thanks for joining me.
My pleasure, Ciaran. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So we're coming to the end of the month, Peter. We've been chatting to some people this week who are trying to make a decision about selling their home, thinking about the timing of the year. We're coming towards Christmas. What do people need to do?
Tricky time of year, and understandable that people would be hesitant in going to the market in December, because that and January are the most unconventional months as far as listing your home for sale goes. What I'd say, Ciaran, is that more transactions happen in December than a lot of consumers realise. It's a great end date for both buyers and sellers who can go into the new calendar year with their personal circumstances resolved. And we find it easier to sell a property often to a home buyer in December than we do in October, where they want to take a full look at the market, if you like, to see what's going to come on for spring. But as you come into December, stock levels start tightening as properties that are sold are not replaced by new listings at the same rate. So a strategy that I think makes a lot of sense is tell a real estate agent, you've got the job. If you can sell it off market through December, we're good to sell if it's the right price. Failing that, we'll launch the campaign in the new year. And I think you'll find that the real estate agent will be able to generate more activity in December than you would have first thought was appropriate or applicable. Yeah.
So you mentioned there that there's a lot less stock being replenished throughout December, which we would expect normally. Do you think that lower level of stock impacts prices for a potential seller, though, in that period?
Even during the boom of 2021, the property market paused through September, October, and then finished the year strongly in December as stock levels tightened again and buyers saw the listings coming down and not being replenished. So each December, we do see some really strong results that wouldn't have been achieved in the October or November when stock was elevated. I think there are some real challenges heading into 2023 for vendors. From about Easter onwards, the COVID-era home loans will begin to expire, and there'll be thousands, tens of thousands of households that need to refinance their mortgage at current mortgage rates, and this will mean double or triple, in some cases, the mortgages for many households. Therefore, I think it's better to either sell in December or very early in 2023 to avoid some of the worst aspects of what may be to come in the property market.
In sales, we often think about, one of the best positions to be in is to understand your buyer and understand their motivations. Other than limited stock throughout December and that sort of pre-Christmas period, what do you think are the main motivators for buyers as they come towards the end of the year looking to secure their home before that ticks over into January of the next year? What's their real drivers, do you think?
I think there's two types of buyers in that regard that are looking in December, Ciaran. There's the home buyer that's looking to pay a fair market price for the right property, but hasn't found it or has been outbid on it. And then there's the perennial bargain hunter that's forever trying to nick a property for less than true value. Clearly, you don't want that buyer. You want the first buyer, the fair-minded buyer. And there's many of them still wandering around the marketplace at the moment that will pay a fair price for the right home.
Certainly what we see on the ground, for sure. One thing I think about when I think about people looking to purchase a home toward the end of the year, get it settled quickly, get all their affairs in order, is families looking to get into a school catchment, for example, or have their kids ready for the new year.
The practicalities of life.
The practicalities of life, exactly. With that in mind, or scenarios like that in mind, is there any particular type of property that you think's really successful toward the end of the year?
I think the generic investment stock is less likely to be capable of selling in the 2 or 3 weeks leading into Christmas. But a very good family home, for example, that comes to market in late November, early December, that'll sell before Christmas? Absolutely. Properties that are priced right tend to sell in 14 to 21 days, Ciaran. When we talk about internet marketing, one thing about internet marketing with the real estate market is it makes the response as close to instant as it's ever going to be. We can put a listing online on Thursday night and have a crowd at the inspection on Saturday. So if your price is aligned with the current market and you make the due diligence available for the purchaser so they don't need to go and find a building inspector and download or order a strata report, it's all there at the ready for them, there's no reason why that home buyer can't move quickly on your home. Now, the standard auction campaign is about 28 days at the moment, so there's still enough time to run a full campaign before Christmas and not compromise your situation. The first auctions tend to start after Australia Day in the new calendar year. As far as 2022 goes, one of the strongest months in 2022 was actually January. While sales volumes were down, the prices that were achieved in January were very high because there was next to no stock on the market, and those buyers that needed and wanted to buy a house were fiercely determined to pay what needed to be paid to secure the property. And I think we'll see a version of that again in 2023.
No, absolutely. One consideration people I've spoken to mention is, one of their concerns about potentially selling just before Christmas is then having to move themselves in that period. What are some bits of advice you can give to sellers if they are looking to close, just pre-Christmas, ways that they can make their own transition just that little bit easier?
Think about the settlement date. So selling your home and putting a sold sticker on the signboard is not moving out. It just means that you've contractually agreed terms on the sale of your property. The settlement period's completely negotiable, Ciaran. So every lawyer will tend to put 42 days on the front of a contract as being the completion date or the settlement date for the sale. But we've seen transactions where the settlement date has been 3 months, 6 months, and even 12 months in rare instances. I'm not suggesting in this environment that anyone rush out and do a 12-month settlement on their sale because everything is a bit fluid at the moment. But yeah, absolutely. You can agree to sell your home to someone in the middle of December and say, my only condition on this sale is I don't want to settle the sale till Easter. And a lot of people don't come to the market with that flexibility in their thinking, and then they come with a very rigid position around timelines, where I think the more flexible you can be in your thinking around the settlement, the more capable you are of structuring a transaction to suit your needs.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people certainly overlook settlement date as a great negotiation tool as well, and definitely worth noting, for buyers out there, it is something they can also look to utilise as well.
If you're a vendor looking to sell your property and the buyer of your property needs to sell theirs in order to fund the purchase of yours, you also need to keep in mind that the purchasers are most likely going to be asking you for something between 10 and 14 weeks as a settlement date. And if you can't offer that to interested purchasers because you, for whatever reason, need to and want to settle the sale in 6, you might cost yourself some bidders in the process, or you might actually cause the buyer to hold back on what it is that they offer for you because they've got to factor in bridging finance. So when it comes to settlement periods, I always like to have a structure in place which means the buyer of the property is not at any risk of tipping into bridging finance, because when they are, I know they tend to hold back on what it is they then offer to the vendor because they've understandably got some commercial risk they're carrying there until they've sold their property.
As we've said, we're coming to the end of November now. When really is the latest that someone could consider coming to the market and be done this year?
Coming to the market and being done, I think you've really got to be on by the 1st of December. But I think you can run a very effective off-market campaign during December where the agent is handpicking buyers and marketing intensely to their respective database to bring a buyer to the table for you. And I think most people that give themselves 3 weeks before Christmas to do that will be pleasantly surprised at the outcome from that. But if you feel that you're better off running a campaign in the new year, I wouldn't be waiting till February before launching that. I'd be looking to launch any New Year campaign middle to late January, because vendors that are on the market at that time of year are often surprised at how much activity takes place.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, if the vast majority of New Year's stock comes on after Australia Day, then it certainly makes sense to be on the market before that.
Yeah, you'd rather have the dance floor to yourself as far as not much competition out there as a vendor, and January offers you that.
Brilliant. Now, we have to address, obviously, 2022 is probably the first free year we're going to experience in terms of Christmas as a society in Australia. It's been a couple of years of lockdowns and restricted travel. The expectation would be that more people are going to travel this break than they have in the last 2 years. Do you think that there will still be the same level of buyer interest in the market pre-Christmas that there has been in the last 2 years?
I think pre-Christmas, yes, because most people will finish the working year somewhere the week leading up to Christmas. So that first half of December, I think you can still achieve a sale at full market price to a full attentive market, if you like, Ciaran. In my time in real estate, I once upon a time saw the consumer take January off, if you like, and the whole of January was a write-off for the real estate market. But as we've increasingly come into globalisation and the internet age, I find that the first 2 weeks of January are fairly quiet. But from the middle of January onwards, people are back in town getting business done for the new year. And I expect that to be the case in January 2023 as well.
Look, excellent advice as always, Peter. And I guess the key takeaways really are that pre-Christmas period is a bit of a wild card, and people can get some great results if they're prepared to just get on board and get it done.
Yeah, people often ask us as real estate agents, what's the best time to sell your property? And the answer to that is when you're offered the right price.
100%. Well, look, as always, thanks for joining me, Peter.
Pleasure. Thank you, Ciaran.
Thanks for joining us on the Current Market Insights podcast, brought to you by Harris Partners Real Estate. The podcast providing real estate insights you won't find anywhere else.